Hello everybody, welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division in the South Coast Tournament. All of the holes are from the White Cliffs, which you can find on tour number 5, the World Links. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go. We're gonna start off by going over hole number 1. And hole number 1 is gonna be a course where we do need to play downhill for the drive. We're gonna add 20% for our first shot. Just make sure that we do go to the distance and bounce on the spot that we're aiming for. I'm using a Power Zero ball, which is a Marlin. You can also use a basic ball. And of course, you can use another ball if you do want to do that. But there is no need of using a ball with a lot of power on this par 4. The thing that makes this one tough is not the drive, it's the second shot. And sure, the second shot is going to be massively downhill. But the problem is that when we play with lower level clubs, we do have a very low amount of backspin. That's what I was about to say. And that backspin is going to be crucial to have if we do want to be able to approach the pin directly. There is one way, so we are not going to find ourselves in that spot because we do have a thorn as a short iron, even though in a lower level with a lot of backspin. But then we need to reach on the right side of this first piece of fairway to be able to go with a short iron. And that shot with our drive is too tough in my opinion, especially when we do not have that much curl. So look here at the ball guideline, even with 3 bars backspin, I'm not going to have one chance whatsoever to be able to get that ball to bounce close towards the pin. I will have to dunk it, but I will not risk to dunk anything when we're gonna play the second shot downhill 30%. So therefore I'm gonna aim up. I'm going to aim for a rough bump with this long iron. And I understand that a rough bump here with this tiny piece of rough is not going to be something that some of you that do want to do, and that's totally understandable. But then you will have to have in mind that if you do not have like a Saturn that gives you at least a 6 or 7 bars of backspin, then you will not be able to approach towards the pin directly. Then you will have to play on the sides to just lay up and then putt it in for a birdie. And I do at least wanted to show the rough bump there, so people that do want to try to play a little bit more aggressively can actually try to get it in the hole for an eagle by using the rough bump there. But once again, totally understandable if you do want to take a conservative route and then go and just take the birdie and go on to hole number 2. Hole number 2, par 3. And this par 3 is going to be downhill as well. 30% we need to add. So 3-0 we need to add for this par 3. We are here going to once again be having very little backspin. So we cannot play on the fairway close to the green. We will not be able to make the ball to stop. So we're gonna back up. We're gonna play it before the rough, like our opponent tried, but did under adjust his shot massively. So I'm using a big dog. I would prefer using a Viper, but I did have the big dog and also a power 3 ball playing a par 5. So this one is of course a shootout. So max side spin to the left. I'm using 2 bars of topspin from this area here. It is important now that we do get the numbers correct or the adjustment correct. So I'm going to adjust medium distance with 30% over adjusted. And as I said, 30% downhill, but we are only in medium distance, so we do not need to play in maximum distance. If we do play with a Power Zero ball, however, then we need to play with maximum distance of our club. If we do have a headwind, we do add a little bit more topspin. If we do have a crosswind, we're going to add a little bit of more topspin as well. In tailwind, I would be okay with going with 1.5 bar topspin to 2 bars of topspin, rather go a little bit long, so we do make sure that we at least give ourselves a shot for the pin. Hole number 3. Hole number 3 is a par 5, and the drive is going to be played 20% downhill. So a lot of downhill adjustments here. And I'm playing with a Power Zero ball once I'm having tailwind. If I would be having crosswind or headwind, I will consider playing with a Power 2 or a Power 3 ball. Why, you may ask? The reason why is because I do not want to have to overpower my shot, which I will have to do with a Power Zero ball in headwind or in crosswind. So we bounce over here nicely. In tailwind, I'm using as much side spin to the left possible to just follow the fairway as it is, kind of following the line to go to the left a little bit. And also using 2 bars of topspin in tailwind, using 3 bars of topspin in crosswind, and 3.5 bar topspin in headwind. And once again, as I said, 20% downhill for the drive. Our opponent here is gonna play left, and I don't like to play left. The reason being is I do believe the approach shot from this side is going to be tougher, especially when we're not gonna reach that far. Then it's going to be on the right side, because on the right side we're going to be able to play with the big dog, and we're going to have an open shot towards the pin. So in a worst case scenario, if we go short with our drive, we can use the topspin that we do have on our club to get our ball to roll towards the pin without having the bunker in play, which we would be having playing on the left. So I do feel that the route on the right side is definitely going to be an easier route for us to make sure that we're at least getting the eagle. Here I'm using 3 bars of topspin. I'm not using any addition or subtraction when it comes to the elevation, so I'm playing it just as it is. And the thing here though is that I'm using a little bit too much topspin. I should be using 2 bars of topspin in tailwind and not 3. And only using 3 bars topspin in crosswind and a little bit more in headwind. But it also kind of decides from where are we on the fairway. Did we go short with our drive? Did we go long? Did we go like medium distance? So we have to try to feel for it there, like what we do want to use in terms of topspin. But don't roll into the rough, and please don't be that close that I was as well. So now we're gonna play a par 3, hole number 4. 3 bars of topspin and 2.5 bar to the side. We do want to play with 3.5 bar topspin when we do headwind crosswind. In headwind, go play with 4 bars. I do like to play on the island before, but I also do want to make sure that you can see that I'm actually I'm deliberately backing up a little bit here, so I'm not gonna have to adjust down into the slope, which is going to make, if we're gonna do that, it's gonna make this shot so much harder, as we're gonna lose distance by doing that. This shot is coming in very nicely, but a little bit short, a little bit too much to the left to get the hole in one. But that's something that we definitely can dial in the tournament. But in a regular tour play shot, that one is gonna be a winner, I would say 9 out of 10 times, if not more. So the thing with the tee shot there, we're gonna play 30% downhill if you are playing on the island before the water start. If you're gonna play down there where our opponent is playing, we're gonna play 50%, because you can see there is a difference in height of the different fairway platforms, so we do need to compensate for that once going in playing this hole. Our opponent does not do that, which makes this ball bounce into the rough or into the sand, which is gonna be not that good. And then last but not least by that par 3 is that I'm using a lot of curl due to not using more side spin, because I'm using a power 0 ball, a Marlin with only 2.5 bar. So either you go with curl, or you will have to go with more side spin and reduce the curl. And then more side spin means another ball with a side spin 2, a side spin 3 instead. Hole number 5, par 5, the second par 5. Here I'm playing no adjustment whatsoever for the elevation with my drive. Max top spin and as much side spin to the left possible, trying to keep myself on the fairway. And as the fairway rolls a little bit to the left, that's why I'm using the side spin to the left here, to just help myself if I do and will be hitting the shot great right. The thing that we are having here on this one is that we do need to, even though you might not like to use a power 3 ball if you're playing down in rookie, but you do need to, otherwise you're not gonna have one single chance whatsoever to be close to the green if you're not having like a 10 mile per hour tailwind for the second shot. But that's not what that's not something that we're gonna do, because the wind isn't that high in rookie. So I'm trying to just gain as much distance as possible on the fairway on the right there, and then I'm going to from that direction I'm going to play with some overpower depending on what I feel comfortable with my big dog, to get myself as close to the green as possible. And that's something that you will have to decide. You could definitely go with max overpower with your big dog and max topspin and try to get the ball to the green, or if so on the fringe or very close to it, and secure the eagle. But having to max overpower a big dog with that low accuracy that it has as a club, which makes that if you do hit great right or great left, you're gonna change the flight path massively. So that would put the rough to the left in play, the bunker on the right in play. So that is something you will have to decide, because you can do another way as well to be more conservative, is that you're using a little bit less overpower or even overpower at all and lay up, and you play with a short iron or with a wedge instead, approaching the pin from distance. And once again I will let you decide, because it's going to be possible to get this ball to the green or very close to it, but we do need to use max overpower. And you know, what do we want to have? Do we rather want to have a wedge from a little longer distance or a short iron from longer distance than we would like to have a rough iron shot or a sand wedge shot? So the second shot though, we're not gonna play it uphill, even though it looks uphill. That is because the fairway where we roll the ball is gonna be uphill. That doesn't mean that the ball is gonna bounce there. So make sure that you play that one just 0. So you play the drive 0 and you play the second shot 0. So you're not adding or subtracting anything for elevation whatsoever. Hole number 6, here I would say this is one of the few holes in this tournament where I feel that we're gonna have a decent chance to grab an eagle. And that's why it's super important here now that we do pay attention to that. Look how much downhill this one is. It looks a lot downhill, and the number that you're gonna use is that you are going to add 20% extra for this drive. And the 20% extra will make your ball bounce to where you want to. And the thing that I'm going to do here is I'm using a power 0 ball, so I can use the extra mile. If you do play with a quarterback, you do need to play with a power 3 ball to compensate for the less distance you're having with a quarterback. You will land on the fairway anyway with a quarterback and a power 1 ball or a power 0 ball, but you would like to have a little bit of extra distance so you don't have to overpower in headwind or endangering the bunker in any form. I do use here 3 bars of topspin, max side spin to the left, which is 2.5 bar. I'm also using the curl I'm having on my club, and the reason I'm using curl is because of the less side spin I'm having on my ball. So with a ball with more side spin, we don't need to use that much curl, but the curl is to prevent that if I do hit a great shot to the right, then I'm not gonna go into the rough on the right. So I'm just making sure to 100% that I'm gonna get myself a shot from the fairway to approach the pin. And here we can see both my opponent and we do have a good chance for the eagle here. But it's not just gonna be something that we can go and grab. We just need to first and foremost understand that if we do let the ball roll with too much speed, and using topspin for example, we're gonna roll over the green because it's easy to get the ball to roll massively over into the rough or into the bunker behind. If we do go short, the ball is gonna fall down and it's going to 100% roll down into the rough or into the sand just before the pin. So I'm using 2.5 to 3 bars of backspin, aiming for my tip of the ball guideline to be approximately 1 square before the pin. And once again, that could change depending on what club you're having. But with the Goliath here, I'm going to use that type of structure. Adjusting for no uphill, no downhill elevation, even though it looks uphill, but the ball is going to not bounce on an uphill position. So we're gonna bounce it from a lower point, bouncing up to a higher point, and in this case, we get it in the hole. If we do want to choose a way to miss, we rather want to go long than want to go short. Hole number 7, par 3, last par 3 of the tournament, or last of the par 3s in the tournament. So I'm trying to find a spot here, like where to play, and I'm deciding to play before the bunker for 2 reasons. First, that we can, with a ball with less side spin, we can get the ball pretty close using the red ring before the bunker there, and it's also going to make it possible to apply that same landing spot with headwind, crosswind, tailwind. In headwind, using left side as I were aiming for first is not going to get myself in a good way with a power 0 ball. Now the result of this shot, it becomes pretty 8 yards from the pin. It's not something that we will be happy with, but we can learn a lot by that. It's like we're getting the ball to bounce as we want to do. We're adding the correct elevation, which is 30% downhill. So we're gonna play 30% downhill, and we're gonna use a little bit of curl if we're not having more side spin than 2.5. And then we're going to use a smidge of a top spin if we do have like a crosswind tailwind-ish. If we do have a tailwind, we do play with out topspin and backspin to let the ball just do the job. And if we do have a headwind, we go with 1 to 2 bars of topspin there to make sure that we bounce ourselves up towards the pin. Super tough hole to make a hole-in-one on, but at least that's going to make you be a little bit closer than we were here in this example. Hole number 8, the last of the par 4s. And this one is also, in my opinion, actually a decent opportunity. So hole 6 and hole 8 for me is the ones that we have the best chance for to get something extra. But once again, it's not gonna be easy because we cannot drive the ball towards the green, even though if we might be having a tailwind. So here I'm going to start by telling you that we're going to play the drive 10% downhill. So 10% downhill is important. Just absolutely make sure here now that you're not gonna do as our opponent is doing to go into the rough. Rather give yourself room and go a little bit short so you can get yourself to stay on the fairway. So the thing that I'm going to do is, once again, I'm using a Marlin, a power 0 ball, to get myself to bounce before the rough and the sand using the topspin that I'm having on my club. So instead of using a power 3 ball trying to get over there to the right directly, I'm using the bounce method here to bounce over the rough and the sand to land myself nicely on the platform there on top. We are going to play this one medium distance with a 10% over adjustment from this spot, and using 4.5 bar topspin with 2.5 bar side spin to the right, and aiming straight down the middle of the other fairway there. You can see we're bouncing very nicely. We do get a roll. We are not getting close to the rough on the sides or on top, and that's okay. Because once again, we don't need that. We just need to be on the fairway so we can play with our wood club directly for the pin. Because here, even though our opponent gets more distance and have a power 3 ball with a rough iron, it isn't possible for him to reach for the green in 2. So we really need to pay attention to the drives that we're doing. That's not just for hole 8 here, for all the holes. If we do mess up and go into the rough, we are going to be punished, especially when we have lower level clubs. Like, there isn't that many players playing rookie that has a level 6, 7 or 8 Nirvana, which is gonna give you a lot of distance. So, and of course if you have that, you're most likely playing another division. But if you do, that's definitely gonna be an advantage, especially if you're not getting the drives correct. So really listen and pay attention to the elevation adjustment. That's gonna make it or break it with this very tough course called the White Cliffs. So now the approach here, I'm not gonna add or subtract anything for the second shot here on hole 8, and just gonna play it as it is. And I'm going to play this one with 2 bars of backspin, aiming straight at the pin, and gonna make sure here now that I'm not using too much backspin. As you can see here, that we are bouncing where it is a little bit uphill. When we bounce when it's a little bit uphill or like downhill from whatever position you are, then the ball is gonna stop sooner. As backspin uphill, the ball is gonna have a different bounce and therefore stop sooner. Definitely a possibility, in my opinion, to get that ball in the hole for a possible eagle. Hole number 9, last but not least, we're gonna play hole number 9, which is a par 5, and this par 5 is going to be super tough as well. Like the rest of the courses here on the White Cliffs, this par 5 is gonna require a lot of elevation adjustment. I'm playing with a power 3 ball, not that necessary for the drive in general, but for the second shot. So therefore we're playing with a power 3 ball, a Titan, and I'm playing the drive 20% downhill, using max side spin to the right with 1.5 bar backspin in headwind. If I do have crosswind or tailwind, I'm going to play 2.5 bar backspin to just make sure that I'm stopping on the fairway there. I do want to have control, and backspin will give me control because the the final part of that fairway slopes downhill, and if we come in too hot, that one is gonna fall down into the bunker, then it's bye-bye reaching the green in 2. The second shot now is gonna be downhill as well, and I'm going to talk you through that in a bit. I'm just gonna mention first that there is going to be players playing on the left side, but once you're playing in rookie division and having lower level clubs, I do believe the right side is going to be the most helpful way, or the best way for you to be able to get the ball to the green in 2. Playing from the left side is going to require a drive that is going to have to roll a little bit further to be able to reach nicely. We'll also have to bounce over rough, which is going to make it a little bit more tricky, especially when you have more distance towards the pin. So playing on the right side here, and now we do have a little bit of tailwind. We could be playing this one with half a bar of topspin here to just make sure that we're getting over half a bar to 1 bar when we do have a little bit of tailwind. If we would be having like a 4, 5, 6 mile per hour straight tailwind, I would play it without, as I'm doing here. So the thing that I'm doing here is to stretch out to adjust my numbers. I stretch out my target into overpower to adjust my rings, and then I go back and I play a little bit of overpower, because that's what when I did stretch it out, I pulled back and I saw it was a smidge overpower left, and that is something I will have to do. So the second shot there, we need the power 3 ball, super important there. And also, if you do have headwind, make sure that you play with a 2 or 3 bars top spin. Make sure that you bounce over that piece of sand when you do have a compressed ball guideline to adjust for. Ladies and gentlemen, amazing course of the White Cliffs. It's gonna be tough. It's going to require a lot of perfect shots, and it's going to require a way to really be innovative if you find yourself in spot that is not something that you recognize. Once again, this is a new course. Me, included as yourself, hasn't been able to play this course earlier than today, Thursday, March 28th. So if you do have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'm here to answer whatever question you might have. I really do suggest that if you do want to invest and want to get the text guide for this tournament, the South Coast tournament, you can get the text guides on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Especially the ultimate text guide package with the updated text guides will be coming very well handed when it comes to the tournament, where detailed approaches with adjustments and stuff to really help out. But I do see a general -11 in rookie. As for hole number 5, it's gonna be super tough to reach green. If you do make a -12 or 13, you're gonna be very happy with that. So once again, you can find all the links, like for Patreon and merch and like Facebook and stuff, down in the video description down below. If you do want to get the direct timestamp, you can find them down below as well in the video description, so you can skip a specific hole that you do not want to watch. Also, before you go, take your time, hit thumbs up if you do like the video and the content we provide here on the channel. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Good luck in the South Coast tournament.